Welcome to the show. Good to see you on this platform again. My name is James Komolafe from the School of Articulation and Behavioural Alignment Resources, also known as the SABA Resources. Welcome to the fourth video on this compelling training on your WhatsApp titled Personal Perception. How do you release it? How do you relate with it? I hope you have been impacted so far by the 3 previous videos. And in case you have not mastered them, please go back, listen to them over and over again, and try and submit your questions. Today is another compelling one titled 10 Articles of Personal Perception and How to Conduct Perception Checks. You've heard about medical checkups, so you also have perception checkup. You can sit yourself down to find out how far you have fared when it comes to the question of perception. So there are sessions under this video today. The first is the flow of perception, and the second are the 10 articles of perception. The third, you'll be learning how to conduct perception checks so that you can do it for yourself, do it for people around you, and just catch fun. And then the fourth, you're going to learn how to interpret your result. Fifth, what are the cautions to avoid as you check yourself up perception-wise. And then the quiz and the submission of all exercises will end the show in this video. So number 1, the flow of perception. The flow of perception walks through 10 major flaws of operation in order to complete its cycle, from the minutest thought of your heart to the highest level of manifestation. The perception principle is just one and the same. It could be a matter of sight or sight or whatever it is. Perception requires the same incentive so that you can give accurate response and change from time to time. So it's like climbing a staircase of a story building or whatever. So when you start from 1, you need to climb the second, the third, the fourth, and just like that. Because you carry a flow inside, you need a flow outside. That is how perception operates. You need to give attention to it, utilize it, and get the best each passing time. So what are the 10 articles of perception and the various messages inherent in the 10? The first article is the article of personal awareness. You need to come to a place where you are aware of yourself, which is very critical. We call it phenomenal awareness. When you don't know what you have, what is happening within you, then your guess is as good as mine. You will not be able to use them. So you need personal awareness. You need to be aware so that you can perform the needed responsibility attached. So it is your capacity to know that guarantees a flow. So the levels of awareness is very critical. Know so that you can register a presence as you begin to convert events, issues around you through perception to productive ends there. The second article is identification. It's not enough to be aware. You also need to be identified with what you know so that you can participate. When you identify the cause, for example, the source and the effect of whatever is the scenario or given situation, then you will be able to track and trace what to do per time. The perception you identify is the perception you connect with. And when you connect with it, you'll be able to also collect from it. So very vital. Problems and prospect identification is also key. So identify with it. Don't just be aware. You need to develop a sense of consciousness that will make you participate in it. So the third article is the article of accommodation. You are aware, you identify, then you accommodate it. You permit it. That creates a template for acceptance and full participation from your end. Because in perception management, you participate in your world given a particular situation around you. So very vital, please accommodate it. It is only when you gain admission, for example, into an institution that you can begin to receive lectures, issues, and all of that as a student. So accommodation opens the door for personal consideration within you. Accommodation is the gateway for you to be able to follow the precise order from the inside to the outside. What you don't accommodate, can you ever analyze? So please accept it, accommodate it in your inside from your outside. Then the fourth article is the article of contemplation. You can see they are stepwise as you climb. So what is contemplation? This is the mental engagement for a critical mix-up. You have to mix what you see, what you hear from the outside with your mind. So what do? You go into critical thinking. Who you are and what you have begins to interact together inside you. And this is the place of intellectual discourse on a personal note, where you engage your mind in thinking, reasoning, memorizing, and before you know it, before too long, you begin to generate the motivation that you need for new levels of realization, for which we call perception. So that's how it's works. When you are able to cross-pollinate the knowledge and the insight you have inside you, then it will give room for you to interact with yourself, find answers to questions of life, so that with the resources inside, you can begin to perform some certain responsibilities outside via perception. So the fifth article of perception is called reconciliation. This one says you don't only think about it, you begin to find a result from your internal thought processes. You weigh things in your mind in order to create some levels of authority and balance. What you have as residual knowledge is mixed up with what is coming into you new. And so what do you do at this time? You begin to put two and two together and reconcile statement in your inside first before it becomes declaration on the outside. This is, however, based on the level of your knowledge that you have acquired. So that's why we said in perception, you need to know certain things so that you can flow with certain things, because you never can grow beyond the level of your knowledge and understanding in life. So perception uses what you have to get you what you require per time. So when you are reconciling, what happens? You are deliberate and conscious. You know what you are doing for the reason why you are doing it. You set the ball rolling for the fact and figures that you need, and you are able to settle things from a given standpoint when you are reconciling. Oh, wow, I like that. I like reconciling, because you see, that's why it's good to hear quick. You are slow to speak because you want to swallow it in and think on those things. Very vital. And then the article number 6 is the article of imagination. So as you begin to think around the issue in your heart and in your mind, what happens? The thought begins to gain internal formation and portrait and postures in your mind. You begin to see pictures, you begin to see various portraits, thoughts begin to mix up with thoughts to create an imagination. Image in a nation. Imagination. You have imagination. Like a video played in your mind. You begin to see it and feel it. So what happens at this point is that mental images begin to occur within you. And as those images occur, virtual pictures ensue in your mind. Imagination provides the seedbed for definite game plan per time, as it serves as the basis for new level of resolution. You are able to weigh what you are getting and balance it from the inside. The world within you is waiting to be harnessed on the outside via your imagination per time. You move from contrast to clarity, from confusion to clarity when you go through that process. And then number 7 article is the article of conviction. Having imagined, it begins to settle down in your mind. This, which is the natural byproduct of imagination. What you imagine and you understand now becomes a new level of awareness inside you. And before you know it, some level of confidence begin to grow from your inside, which we call conviction. So what happens when you are convinced? The settled emotion over a given fact and figures within you raises your tempo. It raises it up. And your tempo is raised up. You are convinced. Your mood begins to change. You begin to find joy and happiness anew and afresh based on what is going on in your inside. So a statement of belief which translates to one's personal position begins to occur to cause new levels of opinion within you. So conviction 101 says you are responsible to a standpoint. And you know what happened here? Where you stand is conveyed as a matter of responsibility to yourself first and then to your environment. Your mind is settled at this point. Your peace is secured in the atmosphere of doubt and options. That is what happened. Point number 8. Article number 8 is the article of articulation. And this is the organization of your concepts and your convictions. The sequential flow, evidence in your life is your articulation. Articulation tells you what it is. When you are able to articulate, it tells you, now this is the new position. This is the new standpoint. And all you do at this time is to put the needed behavioral attachment to it so as to realize your objective. Very vital. And article number 9 is the article of application. You apply what you have arranged in order from your inside to the outside. And in application, it is a natural response of all the processes and procedures that has happened from your inside. And this offers you a world of difference between your reaction and response. Many people just react out there without knowing how to respond. Why? Because they've not taken in the information, process it first before they release it. So they just release. That's not how it's supposed to be if you must work with your personal perception. Application here is the activation of a new decision. So please always ensure that you comply with your final decision. Perception grows with conscious obedience to its resources that you have inside and to the result that you deliver on the outside. So applying what you know per time makes you flow in the issues of life. And last but not the least, as regarding the articles of perception, is appreciation. We never can overemphasize that. Appreciation has many sides to it when it comes to the issue of the processing of your perception. and getting results in life. Number one, it is the acceptance of your result eventually that you get. It is the contribution to others who are also receiving your responses. You appreciate it. You thank people. You evaluate it. You know what happened? It is the seal of the activity that shows your contribution to the realities of the fact on ground. When you appreciate your perception, you are able to say, oh, wow, this is great. You are happy for yourself that you are able to process something within your mind and give the best of the answer. That is how it's supposed to be. So summarily, these 10 articles can happen within a jiffy, snappily like that. It depends on your circumstances, your mood. It could happen through conscious knowledge or through an unconscious coordination when you begin to master how perception works. So please be responsible. Very vital. Open yourself up to vital details. Keep learning and growing. By the time you do that, you build yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and otherwise. It is only on a rounded platform that you can have your perception working well and growing well. Very vital. So how do I conduct a perception checkup? We call it a checkup from the neck up, because that's where perception works. Your eyes that will see the information, your ears that will hear, your mouth that will say it, they are all attached to your head. So it's a checkup from the neck up. Perception here is both an art and science. You must know the methods and the practicality involved so that you can do the right thing at the right time and get the best result. So in perception checkup, these 10 articles are the values or variables by which you are going to check yourself. You are going to see how you are performed in awareness, in imagination, in contemplation, in application, and all those things, so that you can know where to cross your T and where to dot your I, and scale up as you grow in your perception. You're supposed to grow daily in your perception. So we call it Perception Management Assessment Test, PMAT 101. Is to help you put things in proper perspective and to see whether you are growing in your perception or not, and to know where you are growing and where you are not growing. Very vital. So getting to know your status in respect of perception is critical per time. It is not a product of wishful thinking or just presumption or just praying without doing anything. You need to also play your own role. So it is reality hitting the ground. And you know what? In perception checkup, it is a call to reality and sincerity. You must be sincere with yourself. It's not a thing you can fake or lie about. We're going to engage your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your imagination. Please request for the assessment so that you can do this checkup. Based on these 10 criteria, you check yourself. In this assessment test, you're going to fill your name, where it applies, your telephone number, WhatsApp number, of course, and then your age bracket, whether you are an adult or a youth, and then what occupation. Study the graph very well and see what number 1 to 10 represent on that checklist. And as you do it, it will only take you about 5 to 7 minutes to fill the whole form and come out with a deduction. Perception Management Assessment Test is key and critical to how you do things, to how you live your life. And so very vital Study the graph, read the question. In each of the column, 1 to 10 represents the 1 to 10 on the assessment, where you are good, where you are fair, and all of those records, you fill it as that. Any perception will manifest some of these qualities posted as questions to you, and we have explained their various roles. So when you pick the form, and as you put your name, 1 means dull, 2 means poor, like that, till 10, that means perfect. So you now go to the vertical lines where you have the point 1 to point 10. You will see the 10 questions there, which are incidentally the 10 articles of your personal perception. So question 1 says, how well do you reckon with personal awareness? How well are you aware about yourself, recognizing your internal resources that will help you to participate? So you are supposed to think about it. If you are not aware at all, that means you are dull. So you go in front of that question and tick under 1. If your awareness is poor means 2. Under column 2, you tick. If yours is tolerable, that means 3. 4 means fair. 5 means adequate. So that's how you would tick them. Because 1 on the graph is the same as 1 in front of the question. So you tick like that. Question 2 says, how well do you reckon with personal identification? You wait again and think on it. Have I been identifying? If you are the rush type, that means you've not been identifying. So what do? You tick yourself. That's how you would do it until you reach question 10, which says, how well do you reckon with personal appreciation? How well do you assess and follow up on the details of your perception? So you tick whatever you think you score there. So what do you do as to calculating your result? Very simple. How do you calculate to know your percentage? You simply multiply the number of occurrence in each column with the column number on top and write the answer down, straight down it in the category box, down, that big black box. For example, if under column 1, you tick yourself 5 times. So the number of ticks times the column number on top. It will be 1 times 5. You write the answer down in column 1 as 5. If under column 3, you score yourself 3 times, the column number times the number of occurrence. 3 times 5 is 15. So what do? As you multiply, write it directly down under column 5. That's how you will do for all your ticks. And what do? You now have answers in the category scores. Sum all the answer together. That becomes your percentage perception. Write it there down as percentage perception. Once you have finished that, go under the assessment sheet. You will see your various levels there. If perchance you score between 0 to 39, tick it. Your score needs is isolation, which means you have not been doing well as far as perception is concerned. Whatever is your score, please go there and tick it so that you can know where you stand. If you score 40 to 50, you are needing attention. You score 51 to 60, you are needing comprehension. You score 61 to 70, you are needing manifestation. 71 to 80, you are needing extension. 81 to 100, you are in distinction. All of these have their various meanings. But what we want to get you to realize at this point is how to do this simple checkup yourself. As you check yourself, neck up, and be able to come to the percentage. So all you need to do, by way of recap, is to look at question 1, ask yourself the question, and think through. Between graph 1 to 10, what can I score myself? If your mind is telling you, oh, you are just average, which is 5, go to the graph. The graph says 5 means adequate. So you come under column 5 and tick in front of that question where you have 5. That's how you do it all together. And then to get your category score, all you do is just multiply the number of times in each column with the column number on top, and then write the answer down. You do it for every area you have scored yourself. And then to obtain your percentage perception, you add up all the numbers, the figures in the category board, and write it as your percentage, and then tick where you fall into as far as your total score is concerned. When you have done that, sign your name, put the date, and send it back to me. I will analyze you critically and tell you 25 issues about your perception statement so that you will know what you are doing well and what you are not doing well. It will tell us exactly where you need help. Then we can sit down with you, talk with you by telephone, and show you how to do this. And then you'll be good to go. You might want to know, how do we check up from the neck up? Given these values, we check you up by 4 analyses. The first analysis is called structural deviation, where we'll be able to check who you are and what you have done so far with your perception, and where you are deviating. Your answer will tell us, your answer sheet. Then we'll check you by point blank analysis, where we'll be able to pinpoint where you are getting it right, where you are not getting it right. We also check you by what we call root cause analysis, to tell us what are the causes, what are the issues around your life, so that you can do it well and do it very fine. Root cause analysis, point blank analysis, structural deviation will show us all of these things, and then we can be able to help you very well. It will also show us your trend analysis. We'll check you and to say, see, over the times, look at the trend of your perception. Please do this at this time and at that time. It's a very interesting stuff there. In fact, we would like to train some of you to conduct perception checks in families, in homes, in organizations. So if you are interested, it's a whole course on its own, but I've given you the summary of it here on this training. I hope you will enjoy it and come on board with us as a perception coach. Thank you so very much for this session. And before I call it a day, I'd like to ask you a few questions for today's quiz. Number 1, what can you say about the flow of perception? Question 2, which of the 10 articles are you encountering any challenge? Do you have challenges in any of the 10? I'd like to know. And then question 3, do you desire to be a perception coach conducting checks for others in institutions and organizations? SABA Resources can train you to become a perception coach, where that becomes a means of livelihood for you as you package to manage to avoid the damage in organizations, schools, churches, wherever you find yourself. And lastly, do you have outstanding assignment that you have not submitted from the previous 3 videos? Please do well to submit your assignment. When you put all these things together, you will come out with your holistic person and be able to hit the ground running with your perception. I hope values have been communicated to you Listen to this video over and over again, and thank you so much. Share.